Nothing Personal starts in 30 seconds. It's just business. This is Nothing Personal.
Here you go. Here you go.
Memorial Day. That's the Nothing Personal word of the day. It is Tuesday, May 27th, 2025. Memorial Day is the day that a baseball executive looks forward to with eager anticipation and abject fear. If your team is going well and you get to Memorial Day, you have the wind beneath your wings. You believe that you can carry it through the dog days of summer into the stretch run of September, and you are good to go. You're in first place on Memorial Day. The odds are, over time, it's been proven, you're going to be in first place when the season ends. If you're not in first place, but you're supposed to be good and you're hanging in there, you say to yourself, all right, we survived until Memorial Day. Now we get going. The Braves were able to recover from 0-7. They're 2 games under, 8.5 back in the NL East, and they are saying, we can catch the Mets and Philly. We've got this. If you are a team that does not make it to Memorial Day is the day when you realize it's over. The Baltimore Orioles season, over. Pittsburgh Pirates, over. The toughest thing about having a season that's over Memorial Day is you haven't even gotten to the heat of the summer, to the drag that you feel as the days slow down in July and August. But that's only a couple teams. And what you do as an executive is you say, even though we're out of it, we're going to keep ourselves very busy as we figure out who we're going to trade. The Orioles front office, very busy right now. Pirates front office should be busy, may not be as busy as they are supposed to be, maybe busier than they say they are. But everybody's doing something at Memorial Day. Publicly, you'll hear, oh, now it's okay to look at the standings. And that's a bunch of poppycock because players and executives are looking at the standings roughly after opening day. But the reason why the old adage goes, you don't need to look at the standings until Memorial Day is because it doesn't matter. Well, I can look at a bunch of teams and say, oh, I guess it may matter because I'm looking at my team now and we are completely out of it. Memorial Day in baseball associated with standings, associated with desperation, associated with a change of strategic course or a doubling down on your current strategic course. Memorial Day for regular people, barbecues, an off day from work. Memorial Day for veterans, a time to remember, a time to be appreciated. I don't think that we do it enough. But in baseball, we would do something on Memorial Day when you host a game. You bring in some veterans, you draw attention to them, you thank them. I've always had the view, much like I do on many of the other days or months that are devoted to a certain group of people. I don't know why we only should appreciate veterans on Veterans Day or remember fallen veterans on Memorial Day. My view is you should think about it all the time because think about what you're doing right now. You're listening to Nothing Personal live at 8 a.m. on the Nothing Personal with David Samson YouTube channel, or you're on DraftKings Network now, or you're listening, but you don't have to be. You're free. You're free because of the work that was done and the lives that were sacrificed. It was always a sense of guilt because in baseball, we would associate Memorial Day not with remembering anything other than our own circumstance. The ultimate in selfishness and self-involvement was always associated with Memorial Day. You try to figure out where your injured players are, where your team is. Coca, we got to talk about Shohei Ohtani. And the reason we have to talk about Shohei Ohtani is there's a lot of excitement around the player. He's the odds-on favorite to win the MVP again. He's leading the league in home runs. I think he has 19 home runs. He has 2 leadoff home runs in consecutive days this weekend to lead off the game, or to lead off the Dodgers part of the game. Whatever, to lead off. But what drew the most attention this weekend was Shohei Ohtani throwing, wait for it, live BP. It's so exciting when you're coming back from a second Tommy John and you finally get to face a hitter. Now, don't tell the Marlins or about 25 other teams who had their pitchers throwing live BP day one of spring training. Let's not talk about that. Let's pretend it's the old days where live BP is a major milestone in either getting ready for a season or recovering from an injury. Remember, Tommy John surgery, the way it works is first you start with your elbow in a brace and you're not doing anything. You do a little strengthening exercises, a little PT, a little rehab. But when it comes to holding a baseball and throwing, you start on flat ground. You start having a short catch like you would with your dad when you were 9, like 30 feet. And then you extend to 60 feet after resting a few days, seeing how the scar tissue's acting, seeing how it feels the next day, then 90 feet. Then you get to go to 120 feet. And then you get to step onto a bump, but don't you spin the ball. Then you get to spin the ball and you get to feel how you feel and see how you recover. And everyone's watching, the front office, the trainers, the team doctor checks it out. There's reports going back and forth. There's meetings about recoveries and how the pitcher is doing recovering from Tommy John. Every time an added pitch from his arsenal is back being thrown during a rehab moment, it is noted to the front office. So it's a whole, picture it like the yellow brick road. And Oz is your first game back. One of those bricks is throwing live BP. So I agree it's not a small deal, but I also agree it is not even close to where you need to be to get back to a major league mound. So Ohtani throws live BP, and the stories were everywhere. He was on a big league mound for the first time in 614 days. They were setting the scene, all the writers were. Not a big crowd. A bunch of Dodgers players there, some in the box facing him, some behind the cage. Executives, everyone trying to see, feel, and hear and understand how the rehab was going. You've got your manager who stands next to your pitching coach. You've got your GM who can sometimes stand next to the manager and pitching coach, but often stands at a different part of the ballpark, a little off to the side, so as not to be distracting, meddling, or appear to be too involved. But believe me, we're watching. We're looking for comfort. We're looking for mechanics. We're looking for ease of the ball coming out of the hand. But what we're really paying attention to is something that doesn't happen the day of live BP. What we're paying attention to is the next day when we wake up and we expect a text or a call from the trainer to see how the player is feeling, because we get the full report. Tell me about your legs, your hamstring, your knees, your shoulder, your elbow, your toes, your head, your eyebrows. I don't care. I need a full status report. The thing about Ohtani starting to pitch again is what was supposed to be a luxury for the Dodgers is now becoming a necessity, because all of the depth that they have in pitching, it's sitting on the injured list. All of the thought that they would steamroll through the regular season, run away with the National League West, it's gone. Not only are they not running away to the best record ever, where it was a fait accompli, they'd win 116 games and match the Mariners of the 90s. Forget that. I'm not even sure they win 100 games. Sitting right now at 12 games over 500, but with only a 2-game lead over the Padres and the Giants. There are 3 teams within 2 games, and I'm ignoring the Diamondbacks. While the stats tell you that the division leaders Memorial Day will be the division leaders when the season's over, you can bet your sweet bippy that the Dodgers are looking behind them, and there's a big sign that says objects in mirror are closer than they appear. The Padres and Giants look to have an opportunity to do something that would be reminiscent of when the Giants won over 100 games and won the division when the Dodgers won the same number of games a couple years ago. Totally unexpected and totally great for baseball. But for the Dodgers to not just maintain, but potentially grow their position and really get to the point where they can defend their World Series title, which they want to get to in October, obviously, they need Ohtani pitching. Coke, I was asked the other day, why is it that the Dodgers would want Ohtani pitching? And Mark Pryor said it perfectly. He said, the stuff is there. He said, I don't think anybody in that room would ever doubt what Ohtani can do, but he's still got a long way to go, and we'll see where he comes out at the end of the year. Why, if you're the pitching coach, are you selected by the Dodgers to give that statement? Give that interview. It's because you don't want any pressure on Ohtani, and you don't want any pressure on the front office to bring him back early, to pitch him if he's not ready. They already have a situation where they don't want to send him out on rehab, which is unheard of coming back from Tommy John. Unheard of to not pitch in rehab games when you're coming back in the middle of a season. But the Dodgers don't want to lose him in their lineup. You can't go to the minor leagues and pitch and play in the big leagues that day because the rules are when you're on rehab, it's literally a state of being for a player. You are assigned. It's called a rehab assignment. Literally, your name in the computer is not on the active roster. You have been assigned to rehab, and when you're done with rehab, you are removed from rehab assignment. Your rehab assignment is ended, and then you have to be put back on a roster. There are players who end a rehab assignment and aren't ready, and the rehab assignment is done because there's a limit to its length, and they get put right back on the injured list. But the Dodgers have been clear that we're not giving up the bat. The issue I have is if you do not ramp him up properly, he's not going to be effective, and the odds are after 2 Tommy Johns, he's not going to be effective anyway. And furthermore, when you're coming back from Tommy John, you are going to have ups and downs. A pitcher is not truly recovered from Tommy John until the season after he comes back. And then you're still worried every pitch is a snap. Every pitch is a pop. You're worried about a crackle in a different part of the body. But in terms of consistency and effectiveness, it takes time even once you're back, and that's after a full rehab assignment. And what the Dodgers will say is, we've taken our time. We're going to be good. It's not really how it works, though. When you extend the length of the rehab, it does not in any way mitigate the need for either an assignment, or it doesn't take away the inconsistency that comes when you're back from Tommy John. These are just facts. I think you will see Ohtani on the mound at some point this year. I do not think it will be before the All-Star break. I don't think that makes sense for the Dodgers to do. If they want him around in October, they need to have him make as few appearances as possible. Pitching would be my advice. There is no great pressure from a revenue standpoint, from an expense standpoint. He is being paid what he's being paid. Ohtani does want to pitch. He asked to pitch. He was promised to be able to pitch by the Dodgers when he signed. But it will be quite a bit later than you would have thought. Do you know how hard it is to win back-to-back Cy Young Awards? There was a game this weekend, Coca, that I was watching the highlights of. I didn't watch it as it unfolded live. But this, if you haven't done the condensed game on the MLB app, then you're not living. Now, it used to be that when games were 4 hours, you craved it. But even at 2 hours and 42 minutes, 2 hours, 44 minutes, The condensed game is quite something. So I'm not going to be that guy, Coco. I'm not going to say, yes, I watched the Tigers and the Guardians game. I didn't. But I did watch the condensed game. And Tarik Skubal, my God, is he getting attention? He's getting attention because he won the Cy Young last year for the Tigers. Number two, the Tigers are in position right now to win their division. They have a 5-game lead over the Guardians. The Guardians had won the first 3 games of a 4-game series. Skubal comes in on Sunday, and he goes 9. Not only does he give you a complete game, which is so rare, his last pitch of the game is what's gotten the most attention, because the final pitch in the 9th inning, the 27th out, was 102.6 miles an hour, rounded up, $103, the hardest of his career, first complete game of his career. Only needed 2 hours and 10 minutes and 94 pitches to get it done. As dominant a pitching performance as you will see, because you know from watching Nothing Personal 1,284 times, or if you're new to the show, here's what an ace is. An ace is someone who continues a winning streak and breaks a losing streak. There's a difference between a number 1 pitcher and an ace. Tarik Skubal is an ace. This is someone that when you come to the ballpark as a player on offense, a position player, and you see that Skubal's pitching, it is a win day. And when you are a first-place team and you are trying to accomplish something as a team, you're trying to get win days to go back to back to back to back. That's the type of depth you're trying to get in your rotation, because win days don't come, hey, Judge is in the lineup, it's a win day. There's no such thing as a win day because of a position player. Win days are only because of your starting pitcher, not because you have the best closer in baseball or the best 8th inning guy or you've got the best long guy. None of it. No matter how many people don't focus on starting pitching anymore, or the fact that no one's going more than 5 innings or 3 times through the lineup, ignore all that. For people inside baseball who actually work in baseball, a winning day is when your ace is on the mound. Hard stop. The thing about Skubal that is very interesting to me is that if he does win the Cy Young Award back-to-back, do you know the last pitcher who won back-to-back Cy Young Awards? Just out of curiosity. Some of you, about 30 to 35% of you, watched Pedro Martinez pitch, and the stretch that he had when he won the Cy Young Award in 1997, 1999, and 2000, and the year in between 98, he came in second. That 4-year stretch of 3 wins in a second, dominant in a way that makes him, in my career, the greatest pitcher I ever saw pitch against me. Pedro Martinez at his top, unhittable. To wit, there's been nobody to win back-to-back Cys since Pedro. And here we are, a quarter of a century later. So when I say you're seeing something special, note that this is special. When you have a chance to watch Skubal, condensed or no condensed, watch it. His next start. As a matter of fact, Coco, I'm going to let you know something interesting about his next start. He's not the type of guy that comes off a complete game and then goes 3 innings. This is the type of guy that comes off a complete game and is going to go at least 7 innings in his next start, because that's what aces do. I want to talk about, it's in the American League. I'm sorry, Coca. I got that set. All right. Do you want to recut that? All right, we'll do it quickly. Just a quick 10-second one for video. All right, 4-8-6-9. Tarik Skubal is trying to do something that no one in the American League has done since Pedro Martinez in 1999 and 2000. He's trying to win back-to-back Cy Young Awards. All right, you can clip that in with all the rest of the stuff. It's still fine, Coca. Can we talk about the Royals for a minute? Now, people in Kansas City are going to say, why are you talking about the Royals? They're 6 games out. They're in 4th place. They've been disappointing. They're chasing the Tigers. You're focusing so much on the American League Central, which I would argue is the best division in the American League. I think that's a pretty safe bet that the AL Central is, even with the White Sox there. But I want to talk about something because people, you're going to hear and you're going to read a lot, people, even casual baseball people, you're going to read about this player named Jac Caglianone. And you're going to read about whether or not the Royals are going to call him up. He's like a top 10 MLB prospect, and he is raking right now in the minor leagues. Absolutely raking. He plays for Omaha, which is the AAA team for the Kansas City Royals. He's 22 years old, first baseman, a lefty. I mean, just he looks like a major leaguer. He acts like a major leaguer. He is crushing AAA. He was only called up from AA, a week ago, and he's just having the week of his life. 5 homers. He's hitting .346 this season. The Royals could use some help, there's no doubt. Why have we not seen him in the big leagues? This is when we talk about service time manipulation. Service time manipulation is critical in the month of April, May, and June. The way it works is that if you don't call up a player until toward the end of June in a particular season, this whole first season is on the house. It's free. It is not a coincidence that we called up Miguel Cabrera, let's say June 19th of 2003. We got all of 2003 for free because there's still 3 more seasons before arbitration. 3 more seasons at the minimum. When you call up a player after June, call it 19th, you get 3 full seasons plus this stub season, all at the minimum. It's why you see the best players called up at that time, because that's what makes the most sense. Now, don't at me. Don't go crazy in the comments with Coca live on YouTube at the moment. Because yes, it is true that the most recent collective bargaining agreement tried to figure out a way to stop this service time manipulation, and they did something that owners laughed at. The players agreed. All right, we want our best players to be called up. We want to give them a chance. Here's what we'll do. If you call up a player late because you think he's not ready, wink, wink, and you're really just trying to manipulate his service time, which you are, we're going to make it so that if a player finishes top 2 in Rookie of the Year, no matter when they're called up, it will be as though they were called up day 1 of the season, and they'll get a full year of service. That's a big deal. And do you know how many teams have changed their strategy about call-ups because of that new rule? I'm going to say 0 because I want to be argumentative. And you're going to say, but David, some of the best players were called up to start the season. Bobby Witt, Tatis, name some of the great young guys. And they've been there. And that shows that the new CBA is working. I'm trying to bring you inside the head of the front office so you can understand that the conversations that take place during off-season and spring training as it relates to your young players, you've got a strategy for every one of them. CBA be damned. It doesn't enter the conversation. If it's true that Jac Caglianone, this first baseman, gets brought up later in June, and he ends up winning Rookie of the Year and getting a full year of service time, the Royals will not say that they had the wrong strategy. They will not basically pay attention to media scrutiny to say, hey, how come you didn't call him up earlier? Because the overwhelming odds are that he won't. And when it happens, you tip your cap, you give him the year of service time, and you move on. The GM of the Royals gave you the quote yesterday, and I hope that you're reading between the lines, because we will. He said to hit 5 home runs in a week is a pretty good accomplishment. That's true. But the best way to break any player into the big leagues is to try to bring them up when the team is hot. Do you know what we used to do, Coca? And this is bad. I admit it. We would tailor our public statements according to the situation we were in at that particular moment. So right now, the Royals are 5-10 in their last 15. So when they know they don't want to bring up the player for another month because of service time manipulation, what you have to tell the public is, hey, it's not great for the player to come into a situation where the team is struggling. Do you know what the GM would have said if the Royals were 10-5 in their last 15? We don't want to interrupt what we've got going here. We've got such a good thing that we don't want to mess with the chemistry. Whatever the scenario is, that is what you tailor the PR spin to, because the assumption by all baseball executives is that all of us, media, fans, we're a bunch of dolts. But we're not. Here on Nothing Personal, we tell you how it is. And the way it is with the Royals, smartly so. Smartly so. They're not calling. This guy could hit 5 home runs a week for the next 3 weeks. Nope. They're not going to do it. They would be it. You know what, Coca? I got to tell you, this is not overstating it. This is not hyperbole. It would be professional malpractice to call him up right now. Therefore, do everyone understand why I'm saying how important it is when a player gets to arbitration? Why teams pay attention to Super 2, which is getting arbitration a year early? Why teams pay attention to when a player will be a free agent, the number of years you have a player under control? Why pay attention to when a player goes to arbitration? Think about this for a minute. When you get paid the minimum, just call it 800 grand. But back in the day, it was 300 grand, 100 grand, 500 grand. But just say 800 grand. A player like a Miguel Cabrera or like a performing young player who has tremendous bulk, lots of home runs, lots of runs batted in, maybe even some special accomplishments like a World Series or a Rookie of the Year. The first year arbitration number could be like $7 million. But let's just even say it's $5 million. The difference between paying a player $5 million and 800 grand, that's what's at stake. But wait, it then builds on that. If you let a player become a Super 2, that player can make $5 million in arbitration and the next year make $9 million. You will have paid a player $14 million over 2 years when you could have paid him the minimum for 1 year and then the first year arbitration the second year. I know you're with me. I don't need a blackboard to tell you. But if you do it wrong and you don't manipulate, you could end up paying $14 million versus $6 million. That is an $8 million decision. How many of you would not make an $8 million decision to your favor? Everybody. Front offices are rational actors financially. They have to be, because you want to spread your payroll around to as many players as possible. You want as many players as possible outperforming their contracts. To do it, you try to keep the money as low as possible. It's not about keeping your thumb on somebody or trying. It's always called by the union manipulating, as though when you change how you do your supply chain, you're manipulating things in order to lower your cost of goods sold. No, you're doing business. Yes, Coca, I do get frustrated because everybody does the same thing in every single industry. But a baseball team president who does it, oh my God, what a cheap SOB. All right, I'm over it. No, I'm not over it. I need to take a break. We come back, I'm going to review season 2 of The Last of Us. And then I want to talk about something that happened with Caitlin Clark that's going to cause her to miss 2 weeks and the impact that will have on the WNBA, if any. Stay tuned, because guess what? We'll be right back. Welcome back to Nothing Personal. Thank you. It is Tuesday. I'm not saying that there's a lot going on this week, except there's a lot going on this week. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be excited for next week because I want you to be excited about tomorrow's show. I'm just saying that our minds are full right now. Our anxiety is peaking. Our excitement is off the charts. No matter what, Coca, I don't care what they say. I'm watching a movie every day. I don't care if I got to find 27 hours in a day. I'm doing it. Every day we review a movie or a show. Today I'm going to review The Last of Us. Season 2 ended on Sunday night. Appointment viewing for me. It was on every Sunday for the past 7 weeks. Pedro Pascal, Bella Ramsey, based on a video game I never played. Nothing was ever spoiled for me because I don't know anyone who's played it, didn't read spoilers, don't know anything about it, and then boom, a guy dies. Coco, what's the spoiler alert rule? We got to do a set rule here. Am I allowed to say what happens in the season? Does everybody know what happens to Pedro Pascal, or do they not? I mean, the people who play the game know. The people who watch it know. I guess I shouldn't say anything. So, spoiler alert, there is a huge thing that happens during the course of this season. It is all about revenge. It's all about people trying to figure out in a post-apocalyptic world of what someone called dystopian, and I would call downright scary, where people can get infected and bitten and they're zombies and it's total lunacy. Everyone's got a gun. Hey, you used to be a third grade teacher, no problem. Here's a machine gun. Hey, you used to be a farmer. Now you're a brain surgeon. Hey, you used to be a banker. Please mind the store and sell some bananas. Weird what happens when it doesn't matter what you used to do for a living. I got to tell you, though, I didn't like the season. What I love about The Last of Us is the relationship between Pedro Pascal and Belle Ramsey, and I didn't get enough of it. I wanted more. And then I found out there's going to be another season, and it may be without anyone I want to hang out with. Contractual reasons, game reasons. It reminded me what Coca told me. Come on, Coca. You told me something about a show you love called Game of Thrones. And I don't remember exactly, but I think it's based on a book, and like the first 5 seasons were based on books, but then they just kept going without any books as source material. And the last year or two stunk. I don't exactly remember the specifics, but I think there's only been 2 game seasons of The Last of Us. And now all of a sudden we're going to a 3rd season, maybe a 4th season. What the hell? But I'd watch it. Caitlin Clark is hurt. She's going to miss games for the first time in her WNBA career. She's got a quad strain, left quad strain. Uh-oh. Time for Wapner. 2 weeks out. Hasn't missed any games. Let's talk some business here for a minute, if you don't mind. Let's talk about the fact that Caitlin Clark is not playing tomorrow night in Baltimore against the Van Morrison Mystics. Let's talk about the fact that the Mystics decided, hey, we have an idea. Let's move the game. Everybody was moving Caitlin Clark games to bigger facilities because everyone was selling tickets. There were ratings. It was a ratings bonanza. Now with Caitlin Clark not playing, what do? Well, when you change your situs, guess what? You can't change it back. All these people bought tickets expecting to see Caitlin Clark. Now they're not going to see Caitlin Clark. And if the WNBA does what Major League Soccer did, it will be an embarrassment. And I will bet you dollars to donuts they do not. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. When Lionel Messi of Inter Miami is going to play a road game and there's 75,000 people buying tickets to watch him, and then he doesn't dress, or he dresses but he doesn't play, and the home team says, oh, I'm so sorry. I will give you a free ticket to a future game. I will give you a free hot dog and a Coke. I will do something to make it feel right because you expected Messi. Do you think the WNBA is going to do that for Caitlin Clark? God, they better not. They better not. Because you can't do that for Caitlin Clark and then tell me that the WNBA is healthy with increasing franchise valuations. The players can't sit down at a collective bargaining table and say, we demand more because you're not giving us enough money. Because if Caitlin Clark is the only driver of your business, guess what? Not sustainable, not CBA change worthy. Caitlin Clark drew a crowd, always does. 2.7 million people watched on ABC when the Fever played the Sky. Pretty amazing, actually. It peaked at 3.1 million eyeballs. Just to give you an idea of how many people that is, it's the second largest ever audience for a WNBA game. The WNBA All-Star game last year drew 3.44 million, but this audience is just amazing. And it's all Caitlin Clark. It has nothing to do with Angel Reese. It has nothing to do with Paige Buchers. It has nothing to do with anybody else. And then there's talent throughout the WNBA. But the actual driver of eyeballs is Caitlin Clark. Having her hurt is an absolute unmitigated disaster for the WNBA, but not as much for the owners as it is for the players. And I want to explain this, and that is when you've got players who have certain expectations, when you've got broadcasters who have certain expectations, and you do not meet those expectations, something's got to give somewhere. So CBS is showing the game and wanted the game against the Sky to be on primetime. So Saturday, June 7th was this big deal. It's a primetime WNBA game. Caitlin Clark, except now she's not going to play. CBS would have a choice to move it out of primetime, but Adam Silver will not allow that. You want to keep the game in primetime, even though it's going to have and draw a smaller number, because still the primetime will give you a bigger number than it would if buried in the afternoon or buried on a different broadcast network. But the reality of how the business changes when it's so dependent on one person, it's called key man insurance. I guess it's better to say key person insurance now. It's like building a business where you have one source of revenue and everything depends on that one source of revenue. And if that source of revenue disappears, so does your business. Or it's like building a business where only one person knows how to do something that's necessary for your business. And if that person quits, gets run over by a bus, or just decides not to come back to work the next day, or becomes ineffective, and your whole business model changes, you cannot run a business that way. It is completely irresponsible. You want to know why there's got to be training, professional development, and backup plans and redundancies in every business? It's to protect against the concept of a key man. Even with us, Coca, we do nothing personal. It's us. And with that, if I'm not around, there's nothing personal. How does Meadowlark protect itself against that? The way you protect yourself against that is there are certain numbers that nothing personal does. And if a replacement for me, because I quit, I'm unavailable, I get run over by a bus, God forbid, whatever happens, there will be someone in a chair doing a show, and whatever is the difference in the numbers that person gets versus what I got, that is what gets refunded to a sponsor. Or the reality is that sponsors would leave and the show would just disappear. When you have a league so dependent on a player, you try to build up other players. You're promoting other players. You're trying to make it so it's not so universally required for Caitlin Clark to be involved to hit a good number. It just hasn't worked so far. The argument that people have made to me about the WNBA is, oh, David, you're wrong. The bottom has really increased. The non-Caitlin Clark games are bigger than the non-Caitlin Clark games from 2 years ago. They're bigger this year. There's been all boats rising with the Caitlin Clark tide. I hear you. And I feel you, but it doesn't translate. It doesn't translate to bigger broadcast deals. The broadcast deal they have now, straight from the NBA, period. It doesn't translate to better perks, better conditions, better salaries for the players because the WNBA owners all of a sudden think they're going to be awash in cash. It doesn't matter that the New York Liberty were just valued at a huge number because they sold a little piece of equity, and all of a sudden it would indicate that the WNBA franchise valuations are going up like a skyrocket. None of that matters. None of that is accurate. The WNBA is trying to find footing without Caitlin Clark while taking advantage of Caitlin Clark. You got to be doing both things at once. And believe me, the WNBA is going to do it. Nothing personal pick of the day. I'm a little angry. We're 65 and 67. I want to bring you back to the long weekend just very quickly. Not that it matters. I told you the Cards at plus 110 would win Friday night, and they did. They beat Jac Caglianone and the Diamondbacks. That was a good one. But then on Friday, I thought the Knicks would beat the Pacers. Yeah, didn't quite happen. Did not quite happen. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about any of it. I don't want to talk about the fact that the Knicks didn't cover. I don't want to talk about the fact that Patrick Corbin Day on Sunday didn't work because the White Sox beat the Rangers 2 out of 3, but not the game Sunday. The one game the Rangers won. I don't want to talk about that. I'm just going to let it go. I want to talk about what's happening tonight. I want to talk about Knicks game 4. I want to talk about the fact that the Pacers are favored by only 2.5 points in Indianapolis. I don't want to talk about the Knicks comeback. It was so great. Yes, they were down 20 again. Yes, they saved their season. Yes, they did. Wait a minute, Coca. We're live right now. We're totally live. Can you help me, please? I thought Friday night the Knicks won 106-100. Did they not? Why wouldn't that be?
That was Sunday.
That was Sunday, not Friday? Am I completely off on games? Is today Tuesday? Today's Tuesday. Damn it. Just cut that all out. Cut out the mistake that I thought today was Monday, but in fact it's Tuesday, and I got confused because of a game that was Friday, and I forgot about the game Sunday. That was the 106-100 game. Just ignore that whole clip. 12-24-69. Nothing. Personal pick of the day. Tonight, the Pacers and the Knicks play game 4. This is a big one. This is like the Thunder game last night, where if the Thunder win, they're up 3-1. If they lose, it's tied at 2. It becomes quite a big game in a series. Remember, if the Knicks can actually win another game in Indiana and bring it back to the Garden for a game 5 tied at 2, and you've got a 2 out of 3 with 2 games at home, you got to feel like the Knicks are back, baby, and going to the finals. You got to believe if Karl Anthony Towns can continue to do what he did in the fourth quarter, if Brunson can just be slightly better. Mr. Clutch did not have a great game. The Knicks still prevailed. You got to believe that the Knicks are in position to continue this series with only road teams winning. And you got to believe that for me, it's mush time. We're taking the Pacers minus 2.5 over the Knicks. I'm going to be a winner either way. Although I do think the Pacers giving 2.5 is way too light, way too light. The stuff that happened for the Knicks to come back and win, yes, they've done it 3 times this postseason. Twice against the Celtics, once against the Pacers coming back from 20 down. But a 4th time? Give me a break. The other game I want you to focus on is the Braves and the Phillies. Spencer Strider's back, baby. Yeah, he came back, then he got hurt again, and now he's back. And it's a pretty important time as the Braves sit 8.5 games behind the Phillies. And if I'm right and the Braves are going to win the division, you got to start beating the team that's winning the division, and you got to start now. If you can search, and DraftKings odds subject to change, and get Strider at minus 105, do it. Braves over the Phillies. I want to talk about something that happened last night in the Thunder game that interested me. I don't quite. The NBA's, it's something, isn't it? You've got blowout games and you've got games that are close and they become blowouts, then they're close again. The game last night between the Thunder and the T-Wolves, I was watching all the fans in Minnesota and I was watching their team try to compete against a team that is deeper, Oklahoma City, a team that has their best players better than the Wolves' best player, SGA better than Ant, a team that in all ways, you look at the Oklahoma City Thunder and you say, beating those guys 4 to 7 times, that's likely not to happen. And then you watch what Anthony Edwards did, and I'm not sure I firmly understand when Anthony Edwards tells you that, hey, I made the right play all night. It's not that I struggled. I was passing the ball. I didn't get enough shots to say that I struggled. I didn't struggle at all. Why is Anthony Edwards talking about this? Because Anthony Edwards did not shoot the ball. He took 13 shots. He had 2 shots at halftime. I go on Twitter at David P. Samson, and I give you the over-under of 10 shots in the second half. He took 11 shots, the over hit. But he still only shot 13 times. His three-point shot has abandoned him. He's 1 for 7 yesterday. Him distributing the ball, it's true. He had 6 assists. He did pass the ball well. He drove and he tried to drive and dish. I get all of it. But here's what I want for my best player. It's like your best hitter. I'm not taking my best hitter. I don't care the game situation, and I'm not having him lay a bunt down. I'm not doing it. I want my best hitter hitting. In order for the Timberwolves to win a series, you've got to have Anthony Edwards as your center focal point. He's got to have the most shots attempted of anybody on the T-Wolves. It shouldn't even be a question. When you're in at halftime and Anthony Edwards is taking 2 shots, you're sitting him down if you're the head coach Finch and you're saying, dude, I need you to be at 20 shots every game, period. I'm sitting with the team and saying, get him the ball. It's not like baseball. You're up every 9 times. You have a chance to control every single possession. Because you see, if I'm going to lose, I'm going to lose with my best. I'm not going to lose with my mediocre or with the people who are second tier. I'm going to lose with my key man. Can you imagine for a minute the Oklahoma City Thunder losing a game and SGA taking a total of 13 shots? I assume I could go back in their box scores and find a time. If we had a staff the size of Pablo's, we could tell you the last time SGA shot 13 shots or fewer. I would suggest that during these playoffs, unless there was a huge blowout, that it didn't happen. What Coca is telling me is, David, you're live, you bastard. You've got to say things that are right. Oh, but they lost by 42. That was the blowout game, Coca. Obviously, how many minutes did he play? They were down like by 30 points in the first quarter. I'm talking about a game where you can win or a close competitive game. Coca trying to catch me. They lost by 42. Adam Silver is watching these conference finals right now, praying to his God that the Knicks can make the finals while also not wanting Jim Dolan to be in the finals. I've been thinking about whether or not he would prefer to see Indiana against Oklahoma City. Does he want to see the amazingness of Glenn Taylor and A-Rod figuring out who's going to get the trophy if Minnesota wins? Does he want to have his MVP in the finals, even though it's the tiniest market, to promote the fact that SGA is the MVP? He's looking at these conference finals, and you know what Adam Silver is saying? Let's go Knicks tonight. He needs, out of the possible 14 games in this round, he wants to see 13 at a minimum. He'd like all 14. He certainly doesn't want to see only 12, and you can't even talk about 10. 10 is an outrage. 2 5-game series, forget it. He needs the 2 7-game series because he's very well aware that come June 5th at 8:30, if you've got 2 small markets and no great stories, you're going to struggle. Just like we're all struggling because we had to watch an 8:30 game last night when it could have been an afternoon 3:30 game on Memorial Day while we're eating burgers. And instead, we're droopy-eyed trying to figure out why in God's name tip-off is at 8:38. Oh, I remember the problem. When they did these TV deals and there's so much money at stake, not just now, but into the future, you think it matters what you want or how tired you are? Forget it. Throw the ball in the air, look out at the crowd and just say, we'll play exactly when the broadcasters want to because it's just business. We'll be back tomorrow. This is Nothing Personal.